I had just passed the Masonic Hall when my hatchback caught fire. Smoke first, then little flames. For a second, I wondered if it was an angry bolt from the fingers of the Lord, a dart from the all-seeing eyeball screaming, "Repent!" I then realized that the fire had to be the result of a wiring short circuit in the trunk's sound system. In that calm moment of rationality one experiences before fear can sink its teeth in, I looked heavenward and sighed. I knew that one day I'd regret getting stolen speakers hooked up by my cousin's high school buddy. Before the outbreak of the mini inferno, I had been listening to oldies radio, early 90s stuff. Outrageously catchy song, It Shall Remain Unnamed, and so embarrassing just thinking about dancing to it. Lots of rolled up sweatpants, fluorescent tank tops, hats with the brim flipped to the sky. White guys with shaved fades pumping a fist in front of their chests, big goofy overbites drooling all over, a bad running man out on the dance floor. One strobe light too far. Okay, time to spill the beans. It was Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Driving alone excuses lapses in taste. Just then, the fear set in. Hasty to get out from behind the wheel, I cut the engine but left the keys in the car. I stood by the side of the road, my shaking arms folded across my body, watching wisps of smoke and delicate flame licking the perimeter of the trunk. I could still hear the voice of Marky Mark trying to grunt through the doomed speakers, talking about sweat and pores. I was sweating all right, damn near pissing my pants, I was so shocked. But all things considered, this wasn't too bad. I was unhurt, for now at least. Then it struck me. Just 2 weeks ago, I had replaced the entire front windshield. Big deductible, lots of hassle. Bob, the bearded glass technician, had been visibly impressed by the extent of the damage. He asked me what happened, and I admitted with shame that I'd slept through the crime. Late one night, an unknown assailant had turned the windshield into a magnificent concave spiderweb of glass shards. I figured it was either random baseball bat-wielding degenerates on the prowl for mid-'80s imports to further devalue, or else one of several irate ex-girlfriends, but I wasn't sure. Either way, I was forced to drive to the glass shop with my head out the window, no joke. During the replacement procedure, Bob, a gentle giant if ever there was one, had given me coffee in a Ziggy mug along with a well-thumbed adult periodical. Above and beyond, indeed. Now, watching the flames, I was saddened to think that the upcoming melting of this pristine pain would really desecrate the love and care that Bob had put into its installation. I didn't often get the chance to watch things like cars burn, but this fire seemed to me a bit strange. The flames were confined exclusively to the trunk and back seat upholstery. I wasn't sure where the gas tank was located, but I decided not to stick around long enough to find out. Where could I go for help? I looked back down the road, dark and quiet, almost 10 at night, striated by quills of fog. Back a ways, the luminescent steps leading to the Masonic Hall seemed to be my only portal to salvation. The hall was in use, as several lights were visible through the upper transoms of the building's facade. Not stopping to truly admire the faux Athenian portico or the wonderful angles of the turquoise Masonic emblem above me, I sprinted to the top of the steps. Usually, I would have hesitated and pondered proper entrance decorum, but the dangers of a burning Toyota pushed me through the giant embossed doors with a force I had never before felt. I came upon a silent hardwood foyer decorated with glass-enclosed bulletin boards announcing upcoming events. Serious old white men shot out blank looks from the depths of cheaply developed photos. Their bodies were neatly arranged, layered over a background of what appeared to be a Sunday picnic, but just as easily could have been a mysterious ritual. As I plowed forward, the need for help was superseded by the eerie tactility of the occult. I had never been inside a secret society before, and I didn't know what to expect round the next turn. Perhaps a revolving rack of pamphlets revealing the details of how Stonehenge was built. Once down the corridor, I reached the inner sanctum, where yellow light and hushed male voices leaked out from under the double doors. Was this it? Would I crack open the seal of the Masons, loosing their awful energy on an unsuspecting world? Not the time to worry about that crap. My car was burning. I shoved the doors open without knocking and burst into a large carpeted room. Chairs were stacked along one wall, and a battered upright piano sat in the corner. Off to one side, a fold-out table supported a keg-sized coffee urn and several huge insulated coffee mugs. A semicircle of dilapidated chairs, mimicking an ancient Celtic fertility monument, was set up in the middle of the room, and more coffee mugs rested by their legs. Beside the piano and standing on a large sheet of industrial plastic, a group of 7 or 8 men huddled around each other, mumbling soothing words into the ears of 2 of their breed, a tall man and a short man, each clasping their exposed penises, pissing twin streams of wavering urine into what could only be a green plastic turtle pool placed several feet in front of them. As I entered the room, the men all looked up, the murmuring ceased, and the piss jets trickled to a stop. I stood still, chewing on my cheek, and thought back several years. It was a memory from another era, when I still eked out a parochial existence in a smelly little town. One typically mediocre evening, I had been down at the Western Arms Saloon, drinking kerosene-flavored rye and trying to catch up on anything that could be classified as nobody's business. Shale Spreeman was there, flirting with Ainsley Worthington, the girl he and most of the town had already slept with, but otherwise the bar's population was thin and the atmosphere dehydrated. Dust trickled through the air, and the slop of the barkeep's mop kept time to the languid waltz of boredom. Out of the blue, Shale's lanky frame was knocked off its stool as the door to the Arms was flung open by none other than Rory Spackle, the red-haired butcher who ran the Safeway meat department with an iron, though pale, flabby, and freckled, fist. Some real genius had nicknamed Rory Red, and the sobriquet fit his temper. A notoriously feisty man, he was known to threaten difficult customers, when their backs were turned, with enigmatic insults such as, "Come over here, I'll give you a haircut," or, "Your boyfriend smells better than you do." Years ago, Rory had 2 brown eyes, but one of them had turned green after he got kicked in the head too hard, an accident incurred after hours in the deep chill of the meat locker. Seeing this butcher at the Arms was no surprise, as he was a famous local booze hound. However, his choice of clothing today was most unusual, to say the least. Sandals, swimsuit, aviator shades. The tight curls of Rory's hair were only equaled by the psychedelic geometry of his oversized Hawaiian shirt, and I was awed by the vibrancy of both. Suddenly, a phalanx of middle-aged folks, all sporting similar get-ups, stumbled through the saloon doors after him. This motley flock of revelers proceeded to drape themselves over every open seat in the place, like sea slugs clinging to broken coral without a care in their shriveled little minds. Rory moved to the counter, pulled out a Velcro wallet, slapped plastic on the bar top, and ordered an obscene number of chi-chis for his posse. Just then the introduction to Margaritaville pierced my eardrums, all 6 strings and porch swings. As someone unfurled a homemade banner, I was let in on the secret. This mass of balding, pasty lushes was here to conduct a meeting of the local Jimmy Buffett Parrot Heads Club, an organization whose existence I had heretofore been unaware. A party was about to break out, and no one would be wearing socks. Ainsley tugged at the tips of her bad highlight job and gave a sigh of exasperation, which I roughly interpreted as a sign that she was in the presence of too many ex-lovers at once. Shale and I exchanged a glance, which confirmed the bar had crossed the comfort threshold. I felt as if I had just walked in on my grandparents having sex. The air was starting to thicken as inebriated accountants and housewives gave us the evil eye. The whole scene rivaled the weirdness of the night when a drunk guy in a mustache and a tuxedo sat at the saloon's piano, playing Desperado over and over, in a variety of keys and musical modes. Bet Don Henley never knew D-flat Phrygian. As more drinks were poured and consumed, the festive Florida Keys atmosphere brought by the Parrot Heads threatened to suffocate anyone in the bar not affiliated with the club. Indeed, I soon found myself stumbling through the saloon doors, sucking the outside oxygen as if I had barely escaped a burning building. I vowed from that day forth never to attend a party where I was not wanted. The Western Arms Saloon had been a midlife piss-up. Back at the Masonic Hall, it looked more like a midlife piss-off. I didn't think I was wanted at this party either. The proliferation of sweatpants and caps reminded me of a ragged beer league softball team, exhausted after an inter-office doubleheader. The two central men let their limp units hang, dripping, while the supporters behind stared on. A goateed man with rolled-up shirt sleeves stepped forward. "May I help you?" the man asked. "My car's on fire outside," I said, after I had retrieved what composure I could. "Oh." The man glanced back at his group. "Okay, fellas," he said in a loud voice. "I'm going to help this guy with his automobile problems for a sec. Anyone else who's ready, just give her a go, okay? You're all doing great." He grabbed a sport coat from the back of a chair and hurried over to me, whispering, "You said your car's on fire? Bummer." I noticed then that he wore a brass belt buckle decorated with the shape of a woman's hand, the slender fingers curling over the top from behind the belt. This gave the impression that 5 manicured digits were clawing their way out of the man's waistband. I wondered how even the most emaciated brass woman was supposed to fit down the front of someone's jeans. As the leader of the Peers, the man clearly had an obsession with crotches. Leaving the group behind to finish up, we hurried down the hallway. The man showed me into an office where we called the fire department. Hanging up, I asked, "So what exactly is your group doing, Mr. "Lucas," he said. "Gustav Lucas. Please call me Dr. Lucas, though truth be told, I'm lacking the papers to prove it. But don't get me wrong, I am fully qualified to be leading this group. I went to medical school in Antigua for a year, see? This isn't some sort of unregulated scam or whatnot." "Sure," I said. Thoughts of my singed dashboard carpeting cross-faded through my mind, with an image of a joyful Dr. Lucas urinating into the Caribbean Sea, a large black academic dean shaking his head in the background. "Mind if we head out to the fire, make sure it hasn't spread?" I asked. Fine, said Dr. Lucas. We moved toward the front entrance. I got my nerve up. "Why are you all peeing into the kiddie pool?" "I'm running a phobia workshop," he said, "for men with urinary inhibitions." We entered the chilly outdoor air. "I can sense your skepticism," Dr. Lucas continued, "but the therapy we're practicing here in the hall is really positive, and society will be the better for it, mark my words. I've got this great group of guys together, and see, they can't start the stream when in a public bathroom. It just doesn't happen. It's called paruresis. It's all up here," said Lucas, pointing to his skull, "but it shows up down here," he finished, pointing to his zipper. I reconfirmed my crotch theory. "Or rather," he added, "it doesn't show up. It can be quite humiliating, you know." "Is it that big of a problem?" "You bet it is," the doctor said, "and I like to think of myself as the guy who's going to let these men let loose." He had a proud grin on his face. Recalling the gargantuan coffee urn, it occurred to me that Dr. Lucas's group could probably save my car by collectively letting loose on the fire, but I didn't push the idea. We could see the dull glow of the burning automobile round the bend. "Looks serious," said Dr. Lucas. As we drew nearer, he added in a professional voice, "I don't think it will spread, though." This diagnosis was of minor comfort. What had once been a small fire now ate at the entire body of the car. I watched vinyl upholstery bubble before my eyes. A blunt heat enveloped the vehicle, but before long the bigger flames began to die down. The front windshield had indeed melted in spots and cracked in others, though the damage was much more elegant tonight than the vandalism of a fortnight ago. The chassis smoldered like a forgotten campfire wiener. Dr. Lucas looked at me. "We can wait till the fire department gets here, but it looks like the danger is past." He raised one eyebrow. "But good gravy, your car's toast." After a moment's thought, he added, "What'd you pay for it? An 85 Tercel don't fetch much these days, you know. It doesn't owe you anything." I had to agree. Before long, the Gregorian lament of sirens found its way round the corner to where we were standing. The fire trucks arrived, and the tail end of the blaze was put to bed. Just another Japanese mechanized funeral pyre, finally extinguished. Looking at the crispy skeleton of an automobile I once owned, I felt the hand of Dr. Lucas on my shoulder. "Nothing much to do now. Come on back to the hall, son." His tone was comforting. "You've had a rough night. Want some coffee?" "Right now," I said. "That'd be real nice." And anyway, I had to pee.